about home. They're married to real estate.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast for people who love real estate and want to become inspired and informed. Whether you are a newbie real estate agent looking to get tips and learn a thing or two, or maybe you are a savvy property owner who wants to get a jump on the market, this is the place for you. We discuss our passion for real estate and people, and we bring together our personal experiences as well as our guests to learn from each other. You'll hear from experts in sales coaching, real estate law, mortgage lending, investing, and many local business owners on how to grow your business or your investment in real estate. I'm Mairi Elliot.
I'm Mary Forster.
And I'm Mary McCauley.
And we are Married to Real Estate. Well, hello, everybody. We are back with Married to Real Estate and the Marys, and I am so glad to see everybody this morning. Mary Forster.
Dun, dun, dun.
I listened to your podcast with Lisa Tillstra.
Oh.
It was so beautiful, and it was so nice to hear you being interviewed and going further into the details of your life. Mm-hmm. And there's something I need to tell you. You are Herb Zimmerman.
Oh, Herb Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm. You are that influential person that ripple effects out to everybody, whether or not they know it, and you just go on with your life, and it means so much to everybody else around you. You are that person.
Oh, I'm touched, and for Joni's benefit and the audience's benefit, as a young child, very young teenager, this man influenced my life in such a way, and he taught me the meaning of the value of life. Mm-hmm. He just died 2 years ago at age 90, and I had an opportunity after the podcast that I just did to reach out to his daughter, whom I babysat when she was 6. And so that was really, really, really fun. And so, we wonder about our life after life.
Yeah.
We touch people.
That's so
the
true.
ripples keep going.
We touch
Yep,
people. Yeah.
and he's still in your heart and very much
forever.
part of you. Yeah,
We'll be forever.
I understand that completely. I think speaking of life-changing things, Mary McCauley has just made a life change. Yes.
Yep. Downsizing. Bought a new house. So doing the slow move, but very excited. Just a new phase, a new beginning. So I'm excited.
Yeah. How's it feeling in the house? Do you feel like a stranger there still?
There's nothing really there.
Okay.
I did our team meeting, Keller Williams team meeting from there yesterday.
I know. I was kind of like looking behind you.
A metal folding chair that I was sitting in, and all of a sudden it completely collapsed on me, and I fell flat on my back and whacked my head on the tile floor. And I thought, I laid there for a minute, a beat, and I thought, oh, this is great. But some of our colleagues went back to look to see if I disappeared off a Zoom screen, which I did not, because they were going to, endlessly harass me now that I'm okay. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't notice it. Did your camera go off?
What had happened is they switched to the screen sharing right at the opportune moment.
Oh my gosh.
It just happened so fast, and I did feel like a little woozy because I bumped my head, but I'm fine. So
good.
Yeah.
Well,
no harm, no foul.
Survived.
But yeah, there's nothing really in the house yet because we're just kind of slowly, and I'm not taking a lot of stuff, and so we're just trying to figure it out.
Let's get rid of the metal chairs, shall we?
I think those are going to be the first to go.
That's a good idea.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Well, I am very thrilled to talk to our guest today. Joni-Parker Roach is with us, and this is somebody that has come back to my life in many different iterations. She started as being a dear friend to my mother, and that's how I knew her. Towards the end of my mom's life, they became close friends when I wasn't really even living in Groton at the time, and so I just sort of knew of this person, Joni, that my mom just adored, and so I've known her through that and have always, of course, been endeared to her because of my mother's love for her. So that's been special. And then later, as a medical assistant, she walked in with her own mother as a patient, and there I was again to help hopefully serve her mother in the best way I could. So that has been fun. And now we are joint committee members together, and we see each other for hours every single week, every Wednesday, and talk about the town of Groton and the things that we want to see happen in it and how we can best make those things happen. But she is the owner of the Noah Gallery, and is here to talk about that and what she's been doing in Groton for, 30 years, Joni? You've been there? Yeah.
Yep.
and a really active member of our arts community. And, you know, so tell us about what the Noah Gallery is, how you started. Did you come to Groton as an artist, as a gallery owner, or did that grow as you were in Groton?
That evolved. That really evolved after about 10 years of living here. We moved. I grew up in Westford and knew Groton because I took art classes in the summer at Lawrence Academy, and we would ride our bikes and ride our horses over here. And I always loved the community and the views, the vistas. You could see these long sweeping vistas that I loved. When my husband and I married, we met at Digital Equipment Corporation. I don't know if people, a lot of people don't know, they've never heard of that name, and it blows my mind.
Oh, yes.
Two out of three Marys probably do.
I'm certainly old enough to know that one.
Exactly. We were one of those digital romances where he carried my books. I worked in the advertising department there at the time. And long story short, we met, married. His artificial intelligence part took us to San Diego.
Oh, nice.
And then took us to the south of France. And then we moved back here, kind of boomeranged around and settled in the next town over from where I grew up.
Right.
Part of the reason were those vistas. I love living in a town like this. Our son was 4 at the time, so he spent the first 4 years of his life in France. And then when it was time for him to start to go to school, I said, I really want him to have, if possible, have the experience of living in a town his whole childhood, making friends, going to school, lifelong connections that way as a base, as I had with Westford.
Right.
So we moved back, found this place, and at the time my husband was traveling every week. He'd get on a plane on Monday and come home on Friday. So I was sort of juggling at that time, raising my son and being a single mom kind of thing.
Yeah.
I did work for a period of time at Lawrence Academy in their college office, and my son fell in love, ultimately went there. That's where he wanted to
it's beautiful.
Great. Yeah.
So, yeah. And he at one point said, I wonder if I should board. I said, you are boarding. You're
Literally lives
down the
across
street.
from the campus.
No, you already are.
Yeah.
But, and then it was actually in the fall of 2001, my partner, soon-to-be partner, good friend and neighbor, Barbara Scofidio, and I, do you remember Doreen Manning's the Beat magazine? It was a free arts magazine.
Oh gosh.
Back in the 90s, you could go into Donnellan's, there'd be a stack of them there, and it would be it was really cool. She lives in Shirley, and she did this Middlesex Beat, it was originally called, and then it turned into the Beat. And that fall, after 9/11, she had an open studios weekend of all these galleries and studios of artists that no one would ever see in the Middlesex area. And I have been an artist. Barbara's a writer. We know a lot of artists. We know a lot of artists live in Groton. Yep. But I had no idea just how many. Yeah. And how many really, really good artisans, artists, craftspeople were here.
Yep.
Wow. And I said, oh my goodness, what if they could have a place where they could show their work all the time, not just this weekend?
Right.
And that was in the fall of 2001. We opened Noah with 21 artists that we knew.
Wow.
In June of 2002. And we grew it, I think by the time we split the gallery in 2004, Barbara decided to open Noah Gifts down the street. Yep. I stayed Noah Gallery up here. So she took the artisan jewelry and gift stuff, and I kept the fine art, and started an art school in 2006 and have been doing that ever since. So I teach after school art classes to kids, and I teach adult watercolor. I have 2 of my artists teach pastel and drawing and oil painting. So we offer a few things that can fit into all the other wonderful offerings like periwinkle and whistlewood pottery classes. I mean, there's a lot of art construction around.
Yep, there really is.
So we did that, and I grew it for a while. We always had this mission, and we still stick to this mission of, it's basically 2 sentences: helping to create Groton as an arts destination, continuing that destination idea, which has been here since the 1600s, and getting a venue for local New England artists to show and sell their work.
Right.
Nice.
And that became, quite frankly, something that was an offering that I never expected. You know, we did art walks. There were many art places in town center at the time, and we would try to get them all together and do something special, or have a sale, or live music, or wine and cheese, or whatever.
Right.
People walk from gallery to gallery. And we did that for a few years, and it was well received and fun. But it was always, we found, as often happens, that we were the catalyst for that. And it got to be, for me, a bit much, where I saw the school doing more, and I thought the school was really going to take off, which it has, but that would be my main focus, because I wasn't, I was offering receptions, but at that time, I always said it would be nice to open a gallery in a good economy, because at the time,
indeed,
exactly.
Yeah.
And, so, you know, it was in, what was it? The inn burnt down in 2011, I believe it was.
Yes.
My husband and I kept looking across at that vacant lot saying, what if somebody with really deep pockets bought that place, understood what it was, and recreated the inn? Well, we certainly got our wish.
She manifested it, you guys.
Yep, you got it.
No, I don't mean to say I did.
No, single-handedly made it happen.
Yes, the cape. Put the cape on.
But the most fun was one day I was teaching one of my classes, and a gentleman with a hard hat came across the street. The inn was still, at the time, wires and pipes and beams, and couldn't really see what it was yet. And he came across the street and he said, you know, we've been watching you for 12 years, for almost 20 years at that time. They said, we really like your mission statement, because we have a similar mission statement. We want to support the arts in Groton, and we would like you to move your gallery into our
hotel. Yeah.
Dream job.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's like, okay.
Right.
What? To have a partner like that understood, that was truly a co-creator. They are an amazing organization. That was John Amaral and George Robb. John Amaral of Groton, who I call these two my angels.
Yeah.
They have been nothing but supportive and appreciative, and I think they really didn't know what they were getting into when they got me. I'm like, well, we could do this and we could do this.
Yes. She's an ideas woman for sure.
I love that.
Yep.
So we still have a lot on the books of wanting to put together art packages where people could come in for the weekend, take art lessons, have a little show at the end of the week of the time, you know, just things that we can create more gathering places. We're recreating and restarting, or trying to, the Groton Arts and Culture Salon the last Thursday of every month. It's been fits and starts because of COVID.
But that's something, Joni, am I right? That's something that has been going on in Groton since really its inception, correct? Like, that's what Groton has been about. And sorry, guys, this is going to be a definitely Groton heavy episode.
No worries. No worries.
No apologies,
Westford used
Joni.
to be part of Groton. So.
That's true. Most of the area was part of Groton.
But the other thing too, Mary, is what you all are experiencing and describing is so transferable in other environments. Not every environment, but other environments.
Good point, Mary.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. So you're
right, Mary. The from what I understand from our wonderful scholar of Groton history, Joshua Omar, if you ever have a chance to take any of his walking tours in Groton Center on Saturday mornings, cannot recommend. I keep taking them because I keep even though I hear it over and over
She's
again.
got a frequent flyer card now.
Freaking walker.
I really should. He does that through Prescott School Community Center. But anyway, Groton, from our understanding, in the 1600s was the only towns larger were Boston and Cambridge.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Groton, because of the inn and the hub right here in front of Noah, this intersection was the hub of the stagecoaches, which was, it created a safe environment for the Europeans to unfortunately take the land back. But the fighting and a lot of that was further out in the wilderness than Groton, so that Groton was allowed to flourish with education and politicians and big businesses and lawyers and things like this, and a lot of artists and a lot of culture.
Yep.
And the salons began, I understand, in the 1600s. They continued. I mean, Margaret Fuller went to school in my house. She was, for those that don't know, she was equal to Emerson and Thoreau, who used to walk Concord to meet her here. So there was a continuation of the arts and culture all throughout. And people like who started Indian Hill Music and people who started the theater groups and who are long before I got here. You know, there's then this continuation of drawing artists to it. So I just tapped into that. And I think the inn and those folks did as well. And then, to make a long story short, Indian Hill Music saw what we were doing at Groton Inn and said, "Ooh, we like that. Would you be willing to do that for us?"
That's great.
Right.
And I said, "Okay, I'm blessed.
Yes.
I am. This is beyond blessed. Are you kidding?" And I'm so grateful for not only for Noah and my team, but for all the artists that I can help promote and create and bring together. And we have other art groups in town too. It's not just Noah. It's the Neshoba Valley Arts are doing this in West Groton. I want to contact them and say, how can we work together? You know, how can we, tell me what you're doing and I'll tell you what I'm doing. And, you know, we can cross-pollinate.
Collaborative.
What
like
size
that.
is the gallery space going to be at Groton Hill Music, that gallery area?
Oh, boy, is that a good question, Mary. I don't know yet.
It's huge, though, right? I mean, I'm assuming.
Huge. It is. And my understanding is that I asked them at one point how they wanted to have me work with them. Am I in one space? And they said, no, you're all throughout the whole building.
Oh, that's exciting.
Joni, that's so cool.
So I don't know yet. It's all up in the air. I'm going to see it for the first time with you.
Yes. Yep. In a couple of weeks, we're going.
So I'm going to have two hats on that day.
Yes, ma'am.
But if I can start promoting sculpture again, which I'm going to do, because we're about to reopen the original Noah space downstairs, which is Noah at 113 Main, which will be artisan gifts, blown glass, stained glass. Yeah, we're going to. So we'll have 3 Noah galleries within a mile of each other.
Oh my goodness! You have taken over the
expansion.
town.
Abundance. Yeah.
Franchise.
Not taken over, but
No,
I've
expanded.
expanded. I found partners.
Not in an aggressive way, Joni.
No, filling in the empty spaces with art.
Yes.
Well, I'm hoping to, and along those lines, you know, over the years, just seeing the vision. I mean, we have Paul Matisse living down the street. We had Otto Pina, who possibly a lot of Groton folks don't know, but he in the world is a rock star, abstract expressionist artist. He was the executive director of the visual arts at MIT for 20 years. He and Paul were friends in Cambridge. My understanding is they moved out this way and found Groton, and so we want to live here unbeknownst to each other.
Yep. And then I became the Matisse's babysitter, which was my claim to fame in high school. Yes.
Well, my son was friends with Nick. So
awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Swing and Anyway, it's amazing. These are some of the luminaries with Otto's. He's now the late Otto Pena, but his wife Elizabeth Goldring is a world famous poet, and who still lives on the farm and is extremely excited about what's happening in Groton with the arts and wants to be a part of it with her art farm and her silos that Otto had taken these 2 farm silos and created small, intimate performing spaces in
how
that
interesting.
are magical. So we're trying to figure out how it's not a huge space. It would be small people there at a time, but she's doing a lot of work with artists out of Cambridge and MIT because she's still very connected into that world. So there's so much richness, Mary, I guess, that to put it in a kind of a nutshell, I could talk for hours, obviously, on this subject, but I'm so proud to be a current steward of this kind of cultural movement, growth. Since the 1600s, we're just the next continuation. Watching what Bobby Spiegelman from the Groton History Center last year, who invited myself and 24 other artists to be inspired by the sense of place. That was the project name, and we created a book out of it that's for sale through the Groton History Center. Always a plug.
And what was that website again?
Anyway.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Yeah. You know, she had the same vision where she said, it's drawn this place. What is it about? And there are places on the planet, I've had the good fortune to live in several of them, that draw artists. I've been here, Groton and this region. It's not just Groton, it's Pepperell, and it's the Neshoba Valley. Is another life.
We're rich.
Newport, but it's just we're putting a spotlight on it because it hasn't really been seen in that capacity recently. So we're trying to revive that more and more as we go. But it's I lived in San Diego, North County, San Diego, La Jolla, that area. Oh my God, the light there. Why you understand why it attracts artists and people love to live there. It's
interesting.
Not just,
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
I was going to say artists would understand why it attracts artists to that, where I just blindly go, oh, pretty.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like, right? Yeah. You have an artist's heart and mind, you can tell.
Absolutely. You're getting it, though, without even maybe realizing it. I understood when I was about to move from San Diego to the south of France. This was all through digital and Pat's artificial intelligence stuff. He went over there for a number of years to bring it there, and I lived in the south of France. How lucky am I? And someone said to me as I was leaving, he said, you know, there's only 5 places on the planet that have this kind of light and climate. One of them is the Southern California. One is the south of France. The third, they say, is the Italian Riviera, which to me, the south of France and the Italian, it basically is one and the same.
Sure, yeah.
There's a place in Australia and there's a place in Africa. I don't remember exactly where, but it's where the mountains meet the sea with a certain jet stream and certain, it's the setup of that same event creates a clarity of light. When I landed in the south of France, I was home. I mean, yes, okay, I know it's beautiful. I know it's all the things that everybody appreciates about that place. But you knew why Monet and Renoir and Degas and all these artists congregated there. And they still do. And there are whole towns devoted to art. Saint-Paul-de-Vence is completely devoted to art and galleries. It's tourism. It's, you know, it's supporting the arts. But it's a real energy, and I think Groton and this area has it in spades.
I think you're right. Yep.
It just feels it because I've seen it. I've had the good fortune to live in 3 of those places in my life.
Right.
And
brought there, but not by you, not driven by you, which is the interesting part of it to me.
Oh, like, my goodness.
The life that you were leading just led you to these places. And that's really, really fascinating to me and sort of lucky and sort of the universe talking through you, right? That's how I...
Yeah, and I feel a responsibility also, quite frankly, Mary, in sort of being aware of that. And as you know me, I never want to get a bigger piece of the pie. I just want to make the pie bigger so we all get bigger pieces, like we support each other. it's how do I support artists? How do I help artists and writers and musicians? And what can I do to help be a good steward as well as be an artist?
Right.
You know, let's face it, I
about
want
art.
to sell my artwork as much as I want to sell anybody else's.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's
Joni, Mary Forrester has got a question for you.
So, Joni, I recently took a course, just a session from a meditation teacher from California, and it was meditation and creativity. Could you talk a little bit about creativity in your world, how it might have morphed, some of these influences like San Diego and South France, or kind of how are you experiencing creativity as obviously in the outreach area, no question about it, all the bridging you're doing, all the wonderful connection you're doing, but your own art, your own life.
Wow, that's a big one. That's a really good question. And interesting that you bring meditation in, because I'll talk a little bit more about what my husband's doing with our teacher in Groton with meditation and going out in solos and nature and all that. Another topic. Meditation and creativity, I think when you are an artist, and I speak for me, I don't know if it is this way with others, but I'm so influenced by color, by visuals on a day-to-day basis, being surrounded with beauty, being surrounded with inspiration, whether I'm doing art, teaching art, appreciating art. And when I say art, it can be a scene in nature. It can be a beautiful tree. It can be, I don't do enough art myself. And this is a part that why I said it's a bit big, because I find artists, at least what I've experienced, is I go through periods of really being productive with my art and creating. And then I'll go through periods where I'm not. And I'll talk to other artists and they'll beat themselves up and they'll say, I used to paint, but I haven't painted. And I say, you're just taking a break.
Right.
I take a break. I take pictures all the time. I have files on my phone of references for skies, references for seascapes, references for vistas and landscapes, animals, flowers. I'm constantly thinking of, I want to paint that. I want to paint that. I might not get to it, but so I give people, not that I am any great shucks, but I give people permission, I guess, to take breaks and say, think of it differently.
It's nice to support people that way.
Yeah.
It's important.
So I think we really need to listen to our rhythms. And sometimes you have to, like if you have a deadline and you're an artist and you're on a commission and you have to produce or you have to get stuff ready for a show, there is that piece. You're a professional artist and you're expected sometimes to paint when you don't feel like it, because that's part of the job. But I think if you really listen to your inner heart and your inner creative voice on that one, and I love your connection to that, Mary, with your meditation piece, because I think that's really important for artists, whether they have a physical or an active practice or just notice their awareness in the world of what inspires them. Do they get inspired drawing people? Do they get inspired making statements? You know, it might be dark art that you might not want to look at on your walls, but it's important for the times. People who are interested in working with movements or things, appreciations for whatever it is in your life. It can be photographs. It can just be, that's another thing, going back to our salons, Mary, all of you Marys. I'm growing it organically. I'm sort of letting it out little by little, because I want this to be an organic evolvement of people that find us. And we'll have a list and I'll send out an email to anybody interested, and whoever shows up, shows up. Maybe sometimes it might be an artist talk. Maybe it's just, maybe you might come and nobody shows up that month. And you just have a glass of wine and leave.
Right.
I don't want it to be a pressure. I can't take on any more right now of organizing and making.
You do a lot of
so very loose and organic, and I like that. And let people follow their hearts there.
Yeah, and I think that artist community does that. They connect very well. And as I'm listening to you talk, I think about what a good collaborator you are, just in general. And it reminds me of Mary Forrester a lot. And like your life, you've done a lot of that, just connecting people and putting the puzzle pieces together to create a bigger, no pun intended, a bigger picture, you know. And I love that about both of you. I think we all have those qualities, but I see them.
I know you were leaving me out there.
I'm just talking about length of example in this. Mary McCauley does it all the time with your charities. It's all over the place in this room. It really is, and it's such an important characteristic to have to move forward with any passion, with your passion, you know, with one's passion, I should say. And
I do have a question though.
Okay.
What does NOAA stand for?
Oh, I love it. I love it. So that's a really interesting question that I get asked all the time. People think it's because it's all capitals. They think it's an acronym for something, and I've come up with Not Ordinary Art, National Organization of Artists. You know, just trying to, you know. No, it actually, when Barb and I started the gallery, I think it was actually her that said that as one of the possible names. Or it might have been, I can't remember. It was one of us, because sometimes we share a brain.
Yep.
Yes.
Process, so it's hard. But it's the feminine spelling of the name in Hebrew. If you add the H, it's the masculine spelling of Noah. So it's a girl's name.
Oh, interesting.
It has other meanings in other languages. I can't remember exactly. It means love. It means light. It means movement in Japanese and different languages. But the one that I really love and that I feel I should take full credit for, actually, I think it was Sally Reed from Groton who came into NOAA many, many years ago, and she said, you named it after Paul Gauguin's book, Noah, Noah, of his life in Tahiti, painting his life.
I like that. Yes.
He wrote a little book called Noah, Noah with the same spelling, and it means it's either beautiful fragrance or beautiful little flower.
Oh, love it. Perfect.
That's it.
That's
the name.
Adopt that one.
Yep.
I love it.
And Mary, Hebrew.
Yes.
The meaning of Mary in Hebrew is bitter.
Oh,
I knew that.
You knew that? Isn't that terrible?
I didn't know
Okay,
that.
I'm going to adopt Noah as my name.
Yeah.
Noah,
Yes.
Right. Well, what's your middle name, Mary?
Bitter
You
could
don't
be
know.
good, right?
Bitter could be good.
My name's Pearl,
Yeah.
so I'm a bitter Pearl.
Absolutely. Bitters are very good. That you need bitters in your diet.
That's
in order
true.
to have a
There you
balanced
go.
diet.
See,
We're
positive
good for
spin.
digestion. Mary.
I love it. That's great. Joni, I would love to talk to you, since we are a real estate podcast, and talk to you about some of the real estate you've lived in or owned. So let's start with France. Can you tell us about that house?
Do you speak French?
Oh God, I'm embarrassed. I could get by when I was there because I lived in a very international area. We lived in Cannes for 2 years, and then we moved a little inland. It was a very international area, so every time I would begin to speak French, they would immediately want to practice their English and switch to English.
That's
so
not
I was
fair.
never forced to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come as naturally to me, languages, so it never really clicked. I can kind of understand, but no, I'm embarrassed to say I lived there for 4 years and I am not fluent, and it's on my bucket list to become fluent before I die.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
We'll hold you to
We'll
that.
hold you to
Yes.
it.
Oh, I have an idea.
Everyone heard it here first.
Yeah, but you know
Exactly.
Emily in Paris? Have you watched Emily in Paris?
I have not.
On Netflix. Okay, the premise is this woman comes from Chicago. She lands in Paris to manage a high-end marketing company. She speaks no French.
Yep.
So I think we got a story in the making.
Yeah,
here.
I think we could do a whole TV show
Joni
about
and
Joni in France. Yeah, I love it.
Interesting because my husband did this, speaking of real estate and how many places we lived, we were in San Diego, and he did the artificial intelligence program at Digital here. So we moved back here, got married at that time because we were back here. So let's get married and then go back.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they wanted us to move and bring the AI stuff or him to bring the AI stuff to Europe.
Right.
They didn't know where they wanted us to live. They thought it was going to be England. So I'm 6 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
Flying across to England because digital was wonderful. Companies back then, I don't know if they still do that now. You guys would know more than
corporate transfers.
Oh man, they flew us business class if it was anything over a certain amount of hours.
Yep.
They flew us over for a familiarization trip to begin with to see if we wanted to do it. And then they flew us over on a house hunting. I mean, they would just take care of us.
So that's interesting. So they'd send you over on a house hunting trip. So yeah, tell me about that. Did they set you up with a realtor yourself, or they did it all basically?
They took care of everything for us, of getting our papers, getting our carte de séjour, getting all of our visas and things like that together. They basically took care of people that were coming over in a transfer like this. There was a realtor that took us around and showed us homes. This was after they, so the first time it was going to be England. And then they said, oh, that was in December. And then I was due to have the baby in March. And then a month before they said, oh no, we think you want you in the south of France.
Oh
so
my
we
gosh.
were
Hallelujah.
to the south of France, said, okay, either one is fine. Love them both.
Yeah.
Like them both very much.
Sure.
Came back a month before they said, oh no, then they said, a month after I had the baby, they said, oh, we think we want you in Zurich, Switzerland.
No.
So we flew, he was a month old. My son has a passport picture of him where I'm holding him up like this.
That's so cute.
Like, you know.
Right.
But we flew to Zurich and they said, no, we want you back in the south of France. And then they said, you pick.
Okay.
So we finally said, okay, the headquarters is in the south of France. Let's just stay there. Then they set us up with everything. So what they did for us was when we did our house hunting trip, it was fabulous. They would take us to places that they thought we would like, and they would do all the interpretation once we found a home. And I found that, oh my God.
So tell us about that. I want to know about this beautiful home you must have had in the south of France.
So I lived at the top of, I lived a mile away from the Cannes Film Festival. I lived a mile away from the Riviera, the Croisette, all the beautiful hotels. We were right up in a little village called Le Cannet, which was part of Cannes. And it was an Art Nouveau house. The front door was a 13-foot high stained glass Art Nouveau front door. The front entrance, I mean,
I'm drooling.
Marble staircases and parquet floors, and I get chills thinking about it. It was the most beautiful home, and it was half of a house. It was a duplex.
Okay. Yep.
On the east side, and the owner lived out of the area, and that was his home when he stayed in the area, and he rented out the other half.
Yeah.
So it was in a magical place to live. It was interesting. They handled everything for us. The person who was, I'm trying to remember what they called them, but it was somebody that took international folks, got them their paperwork, got them touring their houses,
concierge,
made it all happen. It was there was a term, and I can't remember the name of it exactly, but they
made it happen. So you really, all you had to do is walk around and pick the house that you wanted.
We got to play like we were rich.
Yeah.
We got people to sort of arrange things for us.
Right. Yeah. That's nice. You just show up. That's kind of nice.
And pick a gorgeous house outside of Cannes.
It was magical. It was in the heart of Cannes. We could walk to the Croisette. We could walk to the Cannes Film Festival. It was a really special place. But I had a new baby who was turning 2. He spent the first 2 years of his life there. And then he was a toddler, and I really didn't have much of a yard. And we just got a new Airedale puppy who was very much in need of a lot of exercise and running around places. And I had these 2 little puppies, right? My son and the little puppy. Yeah. I said, and everybody had pools. Everybody had swimming pools that I knew, all my friends. And I said, maybe we should move into a house that has a swimming pool. So we did, and it was amazing. We were in one place briefly, and then we moved into our last house. So we were in 4 years, we lived in 3 houses.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, this is what I did.
Yeah.
And this is what I was starting to tell you. So when we moved to France, we had to list all the places we had lived for the last 10 years as part of the, the visa and all the background checks that they do, because you're moving to a new country, right?
Right.
Yep.
That goes around that piece. So I started listing off my places that I lived. I kept going past 10 years, and I found that I had lived in 21 places in 18 years.
Oh my gosh, Joni.
That rivals military.
Yeah, it really does.
More than.
Seriously, my sister's her husband's was in the Coast Guard, and they moved like every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I was moving every year.
Seems like a stable life to you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Then it was fun to move. You get a new house and you get new things to fix up, and it was an adventure.
I like her.
I do. Me
like
too.
her too.
I know. I'm telling you.
Mary Forrester did that when she moved back
Yes,
up
I
here.
did. Yes, I did.
Unintentionally, though.
Poor husband. So how long have you been where you are now? How long have you been in your Groton house?
It's just 30 years this year.
Oh, wow.
There you go. So you got it out of your system early.
We landed in Groton, and as I mentioned before, my son was 4. And I said, I want him to grow up stable. I don't want him growing up moving constantly. I want him to have a group of friends like I had.
Right.
Where
Deep roots.
I have friends that I grew up with.
Kids will change you. Yep. Kids will change you for sure.
It did. And so it settled us down in this amazing place that I have to say, though, it took about 2 to 3 years. It was the strangest thing, you guys, because I always felt when I lived in San Diego, Boston was home. I'd land BCN. I'd put BCN on the radio as soon as I got in.
Right.
I was home in Boston or in Westford or, wherever I was living around here. San Diego was beautiful, lovely, and all that, but it was never home in my heart. And I lived there the same amount of time that I lived in the south of France. I lived there for 4 years, too. When I landed in France, instantly, I believe in past life, and I know I've had past lives there. I was instantly home, and people said, "Well, yeah, you're on the French Riviera."
What's not to love?
I said, "I understand that, but there's something there was something far deeper." It was like a memory that I was remembering being here.
I felt that way in Italy.
Did you really? Oh, that's beautiful.
I think there are places all over the place. I think if you pay attention to those, it's like people that you meet that are you sure we've never met before?
Right.
You're doing that thing. I think it's the same kind of thing.
That's sort of what I was alluding to a little bit with you, Joni, is you've come into my life so many different ways that I feel like we have some sort of connection that is beyond just that we live in the
This
same
lifetime.
town. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and when you have, if you pay attention to that,
True.
When you immediately connect to somebody and you have 8 million things to talk about, and it's like, sure we haven't met before?
Yeah.
That feeling.
Absolutely.
But it's the same thing with places, and that was a place for me. So it was very hard initially. I did not want to come back. We found out a month before we moved that we had to move. We thought we were honestly going to go permanently there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We thought we had another year on this temporary for the 5th year. We could do 5 years before you go permanent. And the decision was made that, very unfortunately, that they wanted us back here. And it was when it was in the beginning of the end of digital when
They got bought.
Yeah.
in the beginning of the 90s, and there was a person we called him the Terminator, that just didn't care. I mean, Ken Olsen and his crew, the president, cared about the people.
Yeah.
And it was a real, the love. You talk to anybody that worked for digital, and they all had that same loyal love of that was a family, that they took care of you, they cared about you.
Yeah.
And it turned into, what can we sell off? What can we carve off? We really don't care.
It did go quickly. I remember that.
It was
Yeah,
awful.
it did.
And so my husband's manager of the AI center back here, he was calling all his people back as fast as possible to try to set them up, not realizing that the company was going to implode and just die.
Right.
But would be taken over by Compaq, I think was the next owner.
Right.
And my husband, anyway.
So, but you've been in your home now for that long, and it took you a little while to love it.
It did. But I'm home, and for a whole bunch of reasons. I think there's an energy here, finding out more and more about the history here, the arts here, the culture here, the people here. you know, it was a town I really wanted to raise my son in and have him be, this was the foundation.
So
like
I'm going to tell this beautiful thing that just happened in Joni's life. So she did that. She made the choice to stay in Groton and raise her son and give him the life that she wanted, to have a stable life at home. And this boy grew up to love his hometown so much that he just got married in it.
Oh, I love that. Congratulations.
A couple weeks ago at what our general field in Groton, sort of a public, beautiful space that people get to visit and use how they want to. And he decided to get married there, and they planted a tree there the same day. And so it's going to grow
really
with
neat.
their relationship. It's beautiful.
That, you guys, was amazing. That was, we just found out, and I'll digress just for a second here because it was really sweet. Katie Coburn from the Groton Conservation Trust, we had been connecting to them to rent the field, or that part of the field for the wedding for that afternoon. And she called me up about a month before the wedding and she said, I am so sorry. She said, oh my gosh. And she said, we have the Friends of Trees and the conservation groups are planting a new white oak tree that morning. It has to be that morning, whatever it is, with the full moon or the trees are healthy, whatever it was, it had to be. She said, we have nothing else booked in that field for the whole year except your wedding
and the tree
on the same day. And she thought I was going to be upset. She said, they'll be out of there by 11. It'll be all over. Everything, you know, it's fine. I said, what a gift.
It
are
is.
You kidding me?
That's neat.
Trees are huge in our family.
Trees are beautiful.
It'll now be known in our family as the wedding tree.
Of course.
Right.
It's right, and so I'm caring for it. I'm watering
her tree.
It's your baby.
And it's the white oak, and the person who married my son and his new wife, can't believe it, married. They've been together for 9 years, so it's kind of like, you know,
you're used to it.
Anyway, the specialness that they did in wanting to centric their experiences here. This is where they fell in love.
Right.
That field is where they fell in love. Those vistas, that view, and the
Sounds familiar.
The person who married them is her aunt, who's married all of her sisters and relatives, and also it was a tradition in her family to have this person marry them.
Oh, wow.
And she did the most amazing ceremony because of that tree.
Oh, wow.
She wove the white oak tree and the meaning to the Native Americans and the meaning at the Ground Zero in New York, and all these things about white oak that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
She researched and found and wove that in to their marriage.
It's just beautiful.
I
love that story.
It's nice that that's part of your story, your family's story. It's really neat.
And that it's growing. It's literally growing roots in Groton, and
they have children. They can grow up next to it. They can have picnics.
Reminds me of my favorite book, The Giving Tree.
Yes,
that's what that makes me think of. I love that book.
Yes.
So on that note, Joni, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We know you have a busy schedule, but thank you so much for sharing all of this with us and coming and talking to us.
Did you want to just briefly touch on, before I go, and that this has been wonderful, and I know we could talk for hours, but do you want to briefly touch on what we're doing with the Destination Groton Committee, or is that for another time?
I mean, I think we've sort of added some of that in throughout the conversation, and I don't want to keep us, our studio time is going to run out soon. Actually.
It's also a little warm in here. Nothing personal, just a little warm.
And trust me, Joni, I talk about it really as much as I can because it's so on my mind. I mean, it's the work of what we're doing right now is really exciting, and it is just on my mind. I sort of always update them about what we're doing. We are going to visit the Groton Hill Music Center in 2 weeks, and that's exciting for us. But we've got lots of work to do. And again, Joni, I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, having people like you to help, there's a lot of us that are doing the work and celebrating our region, not just Groton.
That's right.
The whole area. And thank you for doing this stuff of just highlighting
Yep.
different
Local
things that are
businesses.
happening.
Yeah. So shout out your gallery website or any of the things that you want to.
Sure. The gallery website is noagallery.com. That's NOA gallery.com. It's ever evolving, ever changing. There's a new hanging going up right now at the Groton Inn. We're in the middle of it. It's not finished yet. Perfect. Hopefully by the end of next week, that will be up till the fall. And we're about ready to get our new sign for 113 Main. That's going to be installed shortly.
Wonderful.
Exciting.
Next year we'll open up at the Groton Hill Music.
Groton Hill.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Very
Big
exciting.
things.
And very exciting about all the other people that are doing wonderful things in the area too. We're very, very lucky to live here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Joni. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Joni.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Mary, Mary.